of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies overnight with a low around 30, Friday sunny with a high near 42, and Saturday sunny with a high around 50.
At Warner Stellian, we thought it was about time you got paid. Now through May 3rd, we'll pay you $50 for each qualifying appliance you buy during our Stellian stimulus sale. Save up to $1,000 on laundry pairs ready for fast free delivery. Buy now at warnerstellian.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Cody Cup, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade, which means distant thunder. And my colonized name is Robert Pilot, and we discuss local and national news and events. And I want to throw a hey Cudahy out there to all our friends and relatives in four directions. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. And I want to say that this portion of Native Roots Radio is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, which do great work here in the Twin Cities and all over Turtle Island. So really excited to get supported and support them. I just want to, before we get to Gina here, I want to give a special shout out to Wendy. Wendy's still, we got a dog walking by here. No dog barking. That's good. Wendy's still not feeling well with COVID, but she'll be home soon. She's getting better, so we're excited for that, and we definitely do miss her. And soon we'll be having Ogama back, and we're excited about that. I just talked to her today, but what we're really grateful for is having Gina Peltier on and all the great work that she does with Honor the Earth, but also we've been able to steal her for a couple hours a day as she preps up for news that you don't hear anywhere else over Turtle Island. And again, Gina, we're so pleased to have you on and supporting Native Roots Radio and what we do here. So welcome, as always. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks, Robert. I'm just grateful I'm able to help. Buju, Gina Peltier and Dishnakas, Makadewa, Makwa and Dudum, Anishinaabe and Dunjaba, Mikanak Waji Inuwag. I am Gina Peltier, I am Black Bear Clan, and I am Anishinaabe of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. And I got a lot of news for you today, guys, so let's get started. Today, the Royal Bank of Canada has canceled its annual general meeting rather than meet with Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs. RBC claimed they have consulted the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs. Chief Namak stated following the RBC annual shareholding meeting that was a lie. How can they say we don't exist? Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and climate finance experts asked the RBC board and management about their role in violating Indigenous rights by bankrolling projects that perpetuate genocide against Indigenous peoples, such as the Coastal GasLink pipeline, as well as the role of RBC's fossil fuel financing contributing to the climate crisis. Melina Lubucan Massimo, the co-founder of Indigenous Climate Action, spoke to shareholders about how RBC's financing of the tar sands has detrimental impacts to their homelands, the health of Indigenous people on their territory, and to the climate. Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs led a march to the RBC headquarters to confront Canada's largest fossil bank for their role in financing the rights violating Coastal GasLink fracked gas pipeline. Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs spoke at the rally organized by youth advocates and Wet'suwet'en supporters, featuring art and a speak out. This happened in coordination with dozens of events across Canada. Despite public climate comments, Indigenous reconciliation statements, and net zero rhetoric, RBC has doubled down on fossil fuel financing to the tune of $263 billion since the Paris Climate Agreement was adopted, ranking as the world's fifth largest fossil bank and Canada's #1 fossil fuel financer. Canada's major banks grew support for the fossil sector by 70% in 2021, including alarmingly increasing tar sands financing by 51% to $21 billion. With RBC leading the pack to $6.81 billion. At a February 25th landmark meeting between Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and RBC executives, chiefs closed with a gut-wrenching video of the years of police violence, arrests, raids, and harassment, which continue to this day. The RBC-financed Coastal GasLink pipeline has brought a rise in police violence against Indigenous land and water protectors, with Canadian federal police spending topping $21 million. In Wet'suwet'en territory alone. By financing the Coastal GasLink pipeline, RBC is choosing to bypass our right to free, prior, and informed consent and instead justify police violence against unarmed Wet'suwet'en people to push the project through. Spokesperson for Giniment Checkpoint. As an Indigenous woman, I have experienced violence by militarized RCMP to forcibly remove me from my own territory, criminalizing me and jailing me. The RBC is willing to risk the killing of unarmed Wet'suwet'en people by police to push this project through sovereign lands. Our prayers are with the Wet'suwet'en and our hopes that the RCMP and the RBC will come to their senses and stop all this destruction. On to brighter news. Electric buses are back on the road in Minneapolis and St. Paul. A year after stopping its first electric buses because of reliability problems, the transit agency serving Minneapolis and St. Paul has put the vehicles back on the road and released a plan to begin electrifying more of its bus fleet. Metro Transit's zero-emission bus transition plan was submitted to the legislature in February. It calls for spending a fifth of its bus acquisition budget over the next 5 years to purchase more than 100 electric models. The agency's net zero bus plan details the problems experienced during its pilot program. The electric buses generate a high number of service calls compared to its diesel buses, but those drop by 2/3 following the upgrades and maintenance. Net zero buses will be effective in reducing pollutants in low-income neighborhoods that suffer the highest levels of greenhouse gases and respiratory-related illnesses. But overall, the impact may be minimal. The state's transit and school bus fleet produce just 0.7% of the state's greenhouse gas emissions, with Metro Transit constituting 0.4% of that total. In contrast, passenger vehicles, including light-duty trucks, represents nearly 58% of emissions. Metro Transit believes system improvements will help move people out of cars and onto public transits. This is a step in the right direction, but so much more needs to be done. Unlike what Senator Kramer in North Dakota is doing, Senator Kramer and colleagues introduced a bill to clarify Biden cannot unilaterally declare climate emergency. And this is scary news. U.S. Senator Kevin Kramer, a Republican out of North Dakota, he's a member of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, joined the EPW ranking member Shelley Moore Capito in introducing the Real Emergencies Act to clarify President Biden cannot use climate change as a premise to declare a national emergency. We really hope that these negligent supposed leaders decide not to accept the bill. So don't forget to reach out to your representatives to urge them not to vote for this bill. Another thing we need to be concerned about, Supreme Court has revived a Trump-era environmental regulation. The regulation, which was welcomed by industry groups, limited the role of states in enforcing the Clean Water Act. The Supreme Court on Wednesday reinstated an environmental regulation from the Trump administration that restricted the role states play in enforcing the Clean Water Act. The court's brief, unsigned order gave no reasons, which is typical when the justices act on an emergency application. 4 justices dissented, saying the majority had used a case on what critics call the court's shadow docket to issue a significant ruling without adequate consideration. Justice Elena Kagan said that courts should have allowed the appeal to proceed in ordinary course. Again, I don't understand how our supposed leaders would want to pass destructive legislation, but the fight for the clean water continues.
Exactly, it really does. Gigi, Gina Peltier for the news, and great questions, and also great news to get out there that you don't hear very much anywhere else. We appreciate it. Hey, up next we have a lawyer that's working with Leonard Peltier, and we're going to talk about Leonard Peltier for a segment, and then of course we have Robert Lilligren on later on. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Please stay with us.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this portion's brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice. Hey, I see Gina Peltier's changed her shirt to a Free Leonard Peltier, the old school shirt. Love it, love it, love it. Hey, we're excited. We have a guest on here, and I before I mention her name, I want to give her bio real quick. So she's an attorney and author and has worked in the staff council for Senator John McCain and Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell on the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs, was attorney for AIM co-founder Dennis Banks, wrote the book A Lumbee, I hope I get this right, A Lumbee Gershom, which is on the selected reading list Indigenous books in North Carolina public schools, and JoJo is working pro bono with many other to obtain clemency for Native American political prisoner Leonard Peltier. JoJo, introduce yourself and welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hi, it's Robert, right?
Yes, it is.
Robert. Hey, Robert, it's JoJo here. I'm JoJo Brooks Shifflett. I'm Hatteras Tuscarora and enrolled with the Lumbee tribe in North Carolina. I've been an AIM member. I guess it's a member. If you could be a member of the movement. But anyway, I was an AIM baby. My granddaddy was an AIM with Dennis and Mr. Means. And I grew up knowing all about Leonard Peltier. I never met him, but I felt like I did. Mm-hmm. I saw his name as a girl on bumper stickers that said Free Leonard Peltier. I saw signs everywhere that said simply Free Leonard. And I'm 57 now, and I'm working. I think it's an honor to be able to participate in the International Leonard Peltier Defense Committee. I'm a member, but I've been on some sick leave. I'm one of those victims of COVID. Anyway, so we're doing all we can to try and get now, as what we see, the only option left for Leonard to get out and live somewhat of a normal life would be clemency. He's exhausted all his appeals now.
Mm. Well, I know we, at the end of every show, Wendy, my wife, says Free Leonard Peltier. And can we just give a quick synopsis? Because I think a lot of our listeners around Turtle Island, we're in Wisconsin, Illinois, in the Twin Cities here, are not hip to what's been happening with Leonard or who Leonard is. Can you give us a quick synopsis of where we were and where we're at now?
Sure, I think so. Well, I made a little video one time a few weeks ago. It's called, Do You Know Leonard Peltier? I do. Mm-hmm. And I just put a few simple facts on there. Leonard's a Native American. He's 77 years old. He's not in good health at all. Diabetes, heart disease. And the different thing about Leonard is Leonard was convicted of shooting and causing the death of 2 FBI agents in 1976 on the Pine Ridge Reservation in a shootout that occurred one summer day between FBI agents. We're not sure how many eventually ended up there that day at the end of the shootout, but you were talking about shootout on the Pine Ridge Reservation in the mid-1970s. Mm-hmm. Do you know, and I think we should talk a little, Robert, about what was going on then. What caused that shootout that day? Mm-hmm. And why was Leonard even there? Right. But anyway, he's serving 2 consecutive, not concurrent, but consecutive life sentences for those 2 crimes that he was wrongly convicted of. Not just I, but observers from the United Nations Human Rights Commission was there that day. Not that day, but several days of his trial. They deemed it an unfair trial, as did Amnesty International. They also had observers there. And Pope Francis, the late Bishop Desmond Tutu, Mandela. It's not just me and a couple liberal nuts who feel Mr. Peltier was not given a fair trial. But the more I read, I've had COVID, and I've been kind of down for about almost 2 years now. So I've had a chance to just sit here and read. And the more I read, the more I'm convinced he was wrongly convicted, and that he was a victim of the FBI's illegal secret program called COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO, I believe, is why Leonard is where he's at today. You want to know a little about COINTELPRO?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Have you ever heard of it, Robert?
No, I haven't.
Most Americans have not. Well, they had hearings on it. Congressional Senate was actually, I guess it was Senate hearings. It was called the Church Committee hearings in 1975 that brought to light that our FBI, who's there to keep us safe and enforce our Constitution and guard our Bill of Rights, they had a secret, what would you call it? Secret subdivision of the FBI, COINTELPRO. I don't really know what each initial stands for, but it's counterintelligence. Counterintelligence. Something that you would see, or you would think you would see in the Soviet Union, not in the United States.
Right.
We don't do that sort of thing. We've been taught, right?
Right.
They did things like tap people's phones, ordinary Mr. and Mrs. Jones. But Mr. and Mrs. Jones might have been in a march that the FBI agents got wind of and were afraid they were communists. Because COINTELPRO was founded and really put into place in the FBI during the Cold War. So they were given a little leniency to do otherwise like illegal, unsavory things that we wouldn't do normally, or the FBI wouldn't do normally. But you know what I think is really interesting about it? Oh, but they targeted civil rights organizations.
Right.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was targeted. You know, you may hear, a lot of people always hear the FBI had tapes on him and pictures with women and things like that, and they tried to blackmail him. That was ordered under COINTELPRO. And Malcolm X, he was another target. And looking through, now they've declassified a lot of those papers only because there was a robbery. Somebody broke in to one of a small building. Oh, geez, I think it was in Pennsylvania. But anyway, it was a small local area headquarters for the FBI. That's where they kept all their COINTEL documents. They didn't keep them in Washington. And mailed this young man and his wife, mailed out all these documents to the New York Times and the Washington Post and to certain Congress people, representatives. And so it went public then. And then that's when they had the hearings on it. And during those hearings, they were promised by the representative there from the FBI, I can't recall his name, I think it was Adams. But anyway, he told Senator then Church, that's why they call it the Church hearings. And do you remember Walter Mondale, who ran for president?
Oh, he's a Minnesota boy, yep.
Yeah, Walter Mondale. You should take a look at these hearings on YouTube. Mondale's very active in the hearings. He didn't like it. He didn't like it at all. You could tell what they've been doing to people. But it was never brought up in those hearings that one of their targets was the American Indian movement.
Right.
It was, they feared it for some reason. It's kind of strange if you read what they thought we were capable of. According to COINTELPRO, we had bunkers, like army bunkers, and we trained our young men, to overthrow the government. And so we kind of qualified then to fall under the auspices of the COINTELPRO program, especially the leaders. I was the attorney for Dennis J. Banks the last few years of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his strong concerns, and this is public record, was there was an outstanding warrant for him. Still, they were holding it over his head all these years from the FBI. I don't even remember the charge now because they charged him with everything. Dennis used to say, I'd rather ride in the car. I'm not going to walk because I may jaywalk and they'll get a warrant for me, JoJo.
Oh, geez.
And anyway, but the point is, they harassed him.
Mm-hmm.
They harassed him until he was 80 about it, you know?
Yeah.
And what they did was the leaders, one of their strategies under COINTELPRO was to target leaders of civil rights organizations that they thought were dangerous, they thought were subversive, or that were terrorist groups. And Maine was one of them. So they would keep the leaders tied up in court. They would say, you know, if we get them in court, they're leaders, they'll exhaust all their time, their energy, and their money trying to get them out, which is exactly what happened with Maine.
Wow, JoJo.
And when they, Go ahead.
I just want to say we're going to a hard break here. And what I need to do, I need to get you back on the show because I think this is a great tease to have you on more a longer time. Because I really think.
Time up?
Pardon me?
My time's up, huh?
It's quick, yeah. And one of the things I definitely want to get you back on. And I think if Leonard was going through court right now, he would not be in prison, and we need to keep his story. We need to keep his story live. I really appreciate you stopping.
Absolutely. And let me just say this. Leonard was one of those targets of COINTELPRO.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Lawrence, and that's why he's in jail.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have you on again. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back with Robert Lilligren.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Children's Minnesota raises up children's health by raising the standards, hands, voices, the bar, the stakes, the questions, and the curtain on raising kids' health to the highest priority. With the most pediatric experts in the upper Midwest, we're setting the stage because kids need us, all of us. So let's raise them up so every kid can reach their best health. Children's Minnesota, the kid experts.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Tom Harvin here, and you can catch me live every weekday from 11 to 2 following the Stephanie Miller Show right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hi, I'm Claire Ferreira, president and owner of Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
Ever since my grandfather founded Standard over 90 years ago, word-of-mouth advertising and referrals from our customers have always been important. That's why, after serving over 500,000 customers, we're proud to have a 4.9-star average rating out of 5 on our online reviews. Check them out for yourself and find out more at standardheating.com. That's standardheating.com.
Metaphysical means different things to different people, and Enchanted Boutique in Maplewood has classes and workshops for any skill level, whether you're beginner or new to the metaphysical. Enchanted Boutique's friendly instructors bring positive energy and years of experience in all the metaphysical realms. Workshops include energy healing, various divination techniques, crystals, and much more. Plus, Enchanted Boutique has lots of products that can supplement what you learn at their newly expanded retail location in Maplewood. Find the class schedule and book your own session at enchantedboutiquemn.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies overnight with a low around 30, Friday sunny with a high near 42, and Saturday sunny with a high around 50. Come visit the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. For breakfast, try the slow-cooked brisket hash, hippie cakes, and meat waffle, while for lunch, enjoy favorites like the veggie burger or beet salad. Located off 29th and Johnson and at hazelsnetogo.com.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Wow, Gina, that was pretty heavy duty. We got to have her on again, right?
Yes, that was great.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get her on Monday or Tuesday when we can spend more time with her. But this is officially Thursday, and so that's Robert Lilligren Day here on Native Roots Radio. And Robert, I don't know, time is slipping so weird away from me, but I don't know if you know Wendy's still in New York and she's sick with COVID.
Oh, I did not know. Oh my gosh, Robert. Sorry to hear. Prayers for good health. How's she doing?
She's getting better, but she was really, really sick. So I'm thrown off a little bit here. The house is trash now too, so I have to get a cleaner in before she gets here. But
as usual.
Yeah, I remember when we first got together, and she was in New York. She was visiting family in New York, and she'd only been there a couple hours. And I said, do you clean up after me or something? And she goes, yes. And she goes, why? And I go, well, I don't know. You've only been gone 3 hours and the house is trashed. So, so I miss her more than anything, but it's really, she's going to be better, and she should be flying home next Thursday. So counting the 10 days and everything, but we really miss her. And Gina's been doing a great job, of course. And
nice to see you, Gina.
A little bit. Yeah. So
Robert.
Yeah, thanks. And your last guest was amazing. I was gonna message you and say, hey, if you guys want to just keep talking, I can always come back next week or something. A wealth of information and history.
Yeah, definitely. Just a teaser. I think we'll definitely have her on again where we can spend some more time too. It was amazing, and just that little bit of information, calling a name of what it was, what they were doing. That was really interesting, and we know they did that same kind of thing to Martin Luther King. That's all come out, and it's interesting to hear that they really were afraid of and really attacked the American Indian movement and a lot of Native American activists back then.
Yep. It's the colonization, genocide, just reverberating, forward.
Exactly. So what's been going on? We haven't talked in a while. It's been a week, but I haven't really talked to either. What is going on in the Avenue? And I know we have a new Supreme Court Justice, a BIPOC woman, the first African American woman. That's going in the right direction there.
I agree. And I took a little break out of my work day to watch the final speeches and the roll call. And it was just really, really moving. And I don't know if you were watching it, but there was this delay before Senator Rand Paul voted. I think he was really just trying to postpone it as long as he could. for some petty reason, I suppose. And so there was this big lag where people were congratulating each other and getting up out of their seats, but the vote hadn't been called. And so I was in a meeting, but I kept looking over because I'm like, okay, I wanted to hear the vote called and see the vote called, and finally it did. And I gotta say, I was a little moved, it was a bit of history, huh?
Yeah, and it's weird too that I think I felt kind of the same way too, in a different way, but a same way when Obama was elected.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's so much hope wrapped around that whole election and both of them, but it's very emotional for somebody my age to witness this because when we were young, that was an idiot, never even thought of. Not no chance, no way.
Nowhere near. And I had the privilege of being a national delegate to the Democratic National Convention in 2008 in Denver when then Senator Obama was given the nomination from the party. And I
Wow.
got to tell you, it was so heavy and so meaningful. And Minnesota came, we have the most diverse delegation in the country by generation, by race, by gender, by gender identity. And so it was really cool. And it kind of surprised a lot of people. But I'll tell you, everyone out there in Denver knew that we were making history and that this was a once in a lifetime kind of thing. And I remember the night of the vote, there was quite a bit of Hillary Clinton support still within the delegation. And so there was all these rumors of these demonstrations that were going to pop up and these loud votes in opposition and things. And the party people were working all day to try to address people's concerns and convince them to show their support for Hillary in different ways and things. And so it came down to the actual nomination, and we're in the auditorium, 25,000 people plus, and the chair calls for the yes votes, and it just resounds yes. And then she called for the no votes, and it's kind of expecting a few stragglers,
Right.
few malcontents. Silence.
Wow.
Just silence. It was so beautiful. And then the vote got called. Senator Obama was given the nomination, and the place exploded. I mean, for an hour maybe, it was just like cheering, people weeping, super moving to see some of our Black elders. They were just stunned. And it's really something. And like I said, you could feel like you were in the tides of history. You were making history. And it was a huge generational shift within the party for sure. So someone like me in 2008, I would have been 48. Is that right? Yeah. And so I was kind of in the middle, but there were these party elders that are like, okay, here's a new electorate. It's their party now. How do we set them up to succeed? And it was really some really beautiful intergenerational interactions there too.
I was thinking too, in 2008, there was some older African Americans that grandparents were slaves.
Right.
Back then. I mean, that's how close it is. And we always talk about Native Americans that, when you were a senior in high school, we couldn't until you were a senior in high school and I was a junior, that we couldn't practice our own religion. We couldn't vote until 1928. And that's not in these schools that aren't that far ago. We're not talking thousands of years or hundreds of years. We're talking a generation.
Yep. Are you talking boarding schools when you said schools? Is that what you mean?
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I was, there's just so much happening in boarding schools. And you had the Pope's big apology to the survivors and the victims of the Canadian boarding schools. I can only assume we'll see similar action here, but and so that's a step, right? It's good to hear that apology, and now let's translate into action, into reparations. Yeah, and you're right. That was my grandma, and that, so it wasn't hundreds of years ago. And there's people our age that were boarding school victims. I was in a meeting this week with North Dakota Representative Ruth Buffalo, And she went to boarding school. Her parents went to boarding school. Her grandparents went to boarding school. She's young.
Right.
This is not history. This is right now.
Exactly. And so where do we go from here? I know it's funny when I hear recordings, and also we're kind of befriended Clyde before he died, a few years before he died. And I know one of the things was when American Indian movement started, they kind of felt left out because the Black movement was moving and doing things, and they felt a little left out. And that's why they started really getting going. And it's parallel. And I really, really, truly believe that the Washington football team would still be the Redskins if it wasn't for the murder of George Floyd. So we're all related.
Yep. I think that's such a good and important point, Robert. And one I think it's really easy to lose sight of, especially here in the urban Indian community. And, I think Clyde, especially Clyde Belcourt, was so deliberate about making sure there were strong relationships between the Native community and the Black community, and the activist communities, and I think we lose sight of that at times. And so, our struggles are similar. Stolen land and stolen labor built this country, and so it's always important for me to remind myself that we need to be lifting each other up. And I had a really incredible experience last year as part of the City of Minneapolis Truth and Reconciliation Work Group that came together and made recommendations to the city how to establish a commission and how to move forward in truth and reconciliation and reparations and land back and things like that. And it was Native people and Black people, descendants of the people whose land was stolen and descendants of the people whose labor was stolen. And the first thing we had to do was defend that these two groups have a special place in the discussion about reconciliation and truth here in this country. And man, I've been parts of a lot of sort of brain trust kind of, think tank kind of things, This was the brainiest brain trust I had ever been involved in. A lot of our young Native sisters who are deeply experienced in the reparations movement were there. And and then some African-American people really across generations who were just deeply versed. It was heavy. Our public alert system's going off here.
Again? Yeah.
I think it's National Tornado Awareness Day or something like that. So
it's crazy. I hear it from your place and I hear it here, but it's scary too with things that are going on in Ukraine and Russia too, because that's, that brings back to when we were young too. We're not that far away from duck and cover,
Oh my gosh. We were just talking about that with some of my younger staff members, and us older people were talking about how, I'm a little too young to remember, or to remember Bay of Pigs, but just all that Cold War, nuclear annihilation, doom and gloom that was always there. We do those duck and cover drills like that's going to save you from radiation or something, And
I know. We went out in the hallways. Then they started saying there are tornado warning. I said, well, still, is this the safest place in the hallway? But what did I know? Look at Wendy posted. She's hanging in there and will be home soon, feeling better every day. That's awesome news. Robert, do you have another time for another segment here? We're going to do some howling for wolves next.
All right. I'll warm up my howl.
Gina's gotten really good at it. She said she practices with her puppies, so it's awesome. So we'll be right back after the short break.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Children's Minnesota raises up children's health by raising the standards, hands, voices, the bar, the stakes, the questions, and the curtain on raising kids' health to the highest priority. With the most pediatric experts in the upper Midwest, we're setting the stage because kids need us, all of us. So let's raise them up so every kid can reach their best health. Children's Minnesota, the kid experts.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. This portion is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. Oh. Good one, Robert. Good one.
You are getting good. Your dogs are teaching.
Gina's rocking it. Hey, we miss Wendy, and I talked to Ogma today too, and she's going to be coming back soon. Her baby's doing good, and so we'll bring the dream team back. Plus Gina, Gina's been a rock star here with us for the weeks that Ogma's been gone. So really exciting. Growth, and I just gotta give Gina a quick shout out again. Good howling, but also really great news in the beginning of the show. So
thanks, Robert. Panini Gini.
Oh, she's speaking Ho-Chunk, the sacred voice. Good one. Wow. Yeah. Hey, we're here with Robert Lilligren, and we're just some of the things, and I know I talk about this a lot with you because I feel really comfortable with you, and we've always had good rapport over the radio, and I think that's what really makes this show is it's a conversation. It's loose and it's a conversation. But I was really thinking during the break about your experience with the Obama election, and I'm also kind of thinking too as being I am an elder, but I like to call myself a junior elder, even because I'm not the age of an elite elder or any of that in our tribe. But I am an elder. But I think about our young ones are naturally, because when we were young, anxious and want to really move things fast. And when we're connecting the dots, and especially you, Robert, because you've been in a government in so many different ways, connecting the dots backwards and seeing how far we've come, as opposed to how far we have to go, is a good conversation to start with.
It is, and we haven't really talked about this before, Robert, but that is one sort of how my mind works, or one of my favorite pastimes is trying to connect those dots backward like that, and really try to get to the roots of some of the, attitudes we have today, the laws, the practices. I was in a very interesting conversation earlier today about what one of my coworkers recently called colonizer trauma. And so this non-native organization we're working with is all of us, we're getting kind of deep. We're working down around the river on what to do with a piece of property down there, that used to be a sacred site. And it's really unleashing, the spirit of the river, the spirits connected to the site, and it's starting to impact people. And these non-native people especially are getting a little freaked out, and responding in unpredictable ways. But anyway, this is a long way of just saying, there was a particular person involved, and I was kind of connecting in my mind back to all kinds of things, and like the women's suffragette movement, which was a lot, it was led by white women, and a lot of it was in response to the passing of the 19th Amendment, which granted black men, freed slaves, the right to vote. So suddenly you had black men with more rights than white women, and that created a whole dynamic and moved the ball forward, and just kind of connecting that. There was a strong dynamic of sexism in our conversation today, and I was kind of trying to connect dots back.
Yeah. It's interesting too. You talked a little bit about the water, and I mean, we talk a lot about the water here, and especially with line 3 and line 5. And one of the things that's amazing, I heard this young Native woman talk about the water and how it's alive and it's electric, and that's what made me think when you were talking a little bit there in the beginning of that story, is that we're digging into deep native vibes and stuff, Mother Earth, Father Sky stuff, with the work that you're doing with the river.
Yeah, and that, it's really, really interesting because there's this power there, and it's a falls, of course. So there's always a sense of power and roaring, and there's a electrical generator there that's runs off the falls. So there's that kind of power too. But there's this ancient power there, and it's interesting. One of the things I'm learning is that it's always been there. And there might have been interrupted. The theme of our work down there is a story interrupted, it might have been interrupted, but it never went away, and as we just give it the space it needs, we started our work down with the Friends of the Falls along the river with ceremony, and it was beautiful. Tumagizi came during our ceremony, flocks of birds came and circled it. I mean, it was just really beautiful. And it was our friend Carrie Day Aspinwall said, it was like they were waiting. They've been waiting for this to wake up again, and welcome these spirits back. It was it's cool. And we move with elders and spiritual guides, and in ceremony through this, and the non-native people don't have all of that, and so these forces are kind of hitting them in really unexpected ways.
That's an amazing statement there. One of the things that's been happening lately too, and I don't know what made me think of this, but they call daylighting creeks. I know, like over by Mounds Park, that they're daylighting creek, and I'm going, what does that mean? Well, they've buried this creek that's now underwater, and they're going to dig it up and let it flow again naturally to the river. I mean, that's amazing.
It's super exciting, and we have them here to Bassett Creek is a really well-known one that was buried in North Minneapolis, and I know there's a strong interest in the local community to see that daylighted. But yeah, there's water finds its way, right? It'll always, in Minneapolis, like South Minneapolis especially, there's all those kind of hills and recessions. It used to be water, it used to all be underwater, and clever Euro engineers figured out how to drain that and reclaim it, and now and water claims it back. Right.
And I don't know if you know this, but that Ford plant, what they're doing at the Ford plant, well, they're daylighting the creek that goes into Hidden Falls.
Cool.
And that's part of their whole deal, and that's going to be amazing because I know when I'm around Hidden Falls, it only has falls when it rains, and it's really kind of a street sewer. Now it's going to be back to the legitimate original Hidden Falls.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. When was it time means nothing anymore since COVID, but was a year ago or 2 years ago when New York City flooded and the eastern seaboard flooded so much and everything just filled up with water. People tragically died who couldn't get out of their basement. But that was just a huge reminder. Water finds its place.
Right. That's right. And wow, I have to say this too. I always enjoy our conversations, Robert. I don't know where they take us. Like, remember or I should say you used to do prep before the show, what we're going to talk about. We text back and forth, and now I think it's just more organic and cool because when you say something, it makes me think of something, and I don't know. I just enjoy our conversations.
Well, I get a lot of positive feedback too. People like your guys' conversations. It's like sitting around your couch, your living room, and just having a people love it. And I get a lot of that positive feedback, especially after your shows, Robert.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Gina. And I just, I'm glad if people like listening to it. And we used to have these much more structured shows, and I do still a bit of reading before these, but I really enjoy it too. And I've noticed that I'm seeking things like this even in my own media, just these kind of conversational things. It's reassuring.
Yeah, it's real though too. I think it's real, and I think people enjoy that, and it's not scripted. And look at Nina says she loves Robert and Robert. We should start a business, Robert.
Yeah. I was just thinking of that. We could be sort of grumpy old men, got two old farts. That's what I was thinking. We've got two old farts.
There you go. Shoot.
Say that on the radio.
That's right. Hey, thank you so much, Peeny Gigi, for being on. Gina, Peeny Gigi for being on, and JoJo, we're going to have you back on. Some amazing information about our relative Leonard Peltier. We definitely have to get you back on. So you've been listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. Free Leonard Peltier.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, the Doomsday Doctrine.
Today's nuclear weapons are magnitudes more powerful